Okay, so maybe you're thinking about reading The Perfect Plan, this new book by Caitlin Weaver.
Interesting.
Well, we're going to deep dive into it today.
Yeah.
And we're not going to give away the whole plot or anything, but
Right.
we got like a sneak peek, right?
Yeah.
Some chapters from the middle of the book
A little taste.
to give us a feel for the characters and what's going on.
Exactly. And it's really interesting how these chapters are structured. You know, we're jumping between all these different characters' perspectives.
Yeah.
So you get these like little snippets of their lives and what they're going through.
Yeah, like you're with Fabiola 1 minute, and then suddenly you're like in Peter's head, like,
Yeah, exactly.
experiencing his anxieties.
It definitely keeps you guessing.
It really does.
About how their stories are going to connect.
Well, and speaking of Fabiola, right, let's talk about her situation for a second.
Okay.
I mean, she's pregnant, but it's a surrogacy for her best friend Liz.
Oh, wow.
I was hooked right there. I was like, what kind of friendship leads to that kind of an agreement?
Right. What kind of person agrees to something like that?
What does that say about Fabiola? What's going on with her?
Yeah, it's like the author's setting up this big puzzle, right?
Totally.
Because you quickly realize that Fabiola's life is complicated.
Oh, yeah.
It's not simple at all.
Yeah.
Her marriage is kind of a mess.
Yeah, lots of tension.
There's tension with her husband over his startup, and like you get the sense that she's carrying around all this like resentment, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Unspoken resentment.
So her decision to be a surrogate for Liz is like, is it purely altruistic, or
is there something else going on?
is there something else going on there?
Yeah, it makes you think.
And then to make things even more complicated,
not complicated, yeah.
we meet Peter, who's Liz's husband, right?
Right.
And it turns out that he and Fabiola have this past. They go way back, like to high school.
Interesting.
And there are all these hints of this connection between them that's like...
more than friends.
Yeah, more than friends.
Yeah.
And the way the author describes their interactions...
Right.
You can feel this, like, unspoken tension.
Totally. Unspoken tension.
Makes you wonder if maybe those lines are going to get blurred.
Yeah. Like, what are the boundaries in this friendship?
As the story goes along...
Yeah. Are they going to cross any lines?
And then it's not just the adults dealing with all this relationship stuff.
Right.
Fabiola's daughter, Vivi, who's a teenager.
Teenagers.
She's going through it too.
Always.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course. There's the typical teenage angst.
Of course.
But I feel like there's something deeper, right? Like she feels neglected.
Yeah.
Like she's being pushed aside.
Especially with the, she's got the twin brothers, right?
The twins, yeah.
Yeah, so she's kind of like, oh, I'm
the forgotten one.
the forgotten one.
Yeah.
And so when you put it all together, right, Fabiola's carrying this baby for somebody else.
Yeah.
And her own daughter's like, hey.
What about me?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's like, how far,
So far
do you go for a friend,
Right.
And what are the consequences for your family?
Yeah.
And then just when you think you have a handle on everything,
You think you've got it figured out.
the author is like, boom,
Boom.
Fabiola's father suddenly dies.
Oh, wow.
And it's not just like a plot twist.
It's not just a twist.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It like sets off this chain reaction
It changes everything.
in Fabiola's life.
Yeah, we see her struggling to cope.
Totally.
Her marriage falls apart even
And
more.
completely unraveled.
It's like this event just like unearths all these buried emotions and secrets.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
Like grief can do that. It can really shake things up.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, like, is this tragedy going to force her to, like...
Reevaluate everything.
Yeah.
Make some big changes.
Yeah, and so right when she's at her most vulnerable,
Oh.
that's where we get the cliffhanger
The cliffhanger.
that ends these excerpts.
Oh, man.
I'm not going to spoil it for you,
Okay.
but let's just say it involves a confrontation, a shocking revelation,
Shocking.
and a decision that could change everything.
Wow. The author's really setting us up for some serious drama here.
Yeah, it's like we're left with so many questions
So many questions.
about what's going to happen next,
Right.
Like questions about loyalty and betrayal and
The choices we make when things get tough.
the choices we make when faced with, like, impossible situations.
It just makes you want to read the rest of the book immediately.
That before you run off and grab a copy, we got to, like, take a closer look at some of the themes that emerge in these chapters.
Okay.
Because trust me,
I'm listening.
and there's a lot more going on beneath the surface
Ooh, I like that.
of this seemingly perfect plan.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that really stood out to me was how the author shows us all the different sides of female friendship.
Right. Like these women, Fabiola, Liz, and Alice, on the surface, they seem like they have this, like, idyllic friendship.
Best friends forever, yeah.
But as the story goes on, you start to see the cracks.
Totally. Like those little resentments and jealousies, those like unspoken expectations that can really mess things up.
And I feel like the surrogacy situation just kind of throws all that into
overdrive.
Yeah, it's like suddenly they have to face these really tough questions.
Yeah, like what does it actually mean to support your friend, you know?
Right.
Like where do you draw the line between being selfless and protecting yourself?
Totally.
And like how do you deal with it when someone you love makes a choice that like totally changes your life?
Right. And it's not just about friendship. It's about family too.
Yeah.
Like Fabiola's struggling to connect with Vivi.
Right.
Her teenage daughter.
Teenagers.
Her marriage is a mess. And then on top of all that, she's carrying a baby for someone else.
Right. It's like she's got all these different roles, wife, mother, daughter, friend, and she can't seem to find any balance.
It's like her own life is spinning out of control.
Yeah, totally out of control. And then to make matters worse.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Her mom shows up.
Paulina.
Right.
Talk about bad timing.
The worst.
And you can tell right away that they have, like, a lot of baggage.
Yeah, years of it.
Yeah, unresolved issues. And it makes you wonder, like, how much of our past shapes who we are?
Yeah, like, can we ever really escape it?
Especially when it comes to family.
Right, family's always there.
And speaking of the past, I thought it was really interesting how the author uses flashbacks.
Oh, yeah.
To show us parts of Fabiola and Peter's history.
Like a little glimpses into their past.
Yeah, you see them in high school.
Their first love.
Yeah, the things that led them to where they are now.
Right. And each flashback just adds another layer to their connection in the present.
Right. Like you start to understand why there's this pull between them.
That chemistry.
Yeah, even though they're both married to other people.
It's like fate, you know?
It makes those moments when they're together now even more, like...
intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's Aron.
Right. Fabiola's husband.
Yeah, the other man in her life.
He's so focused on his startup.
Yeah, like he's this driven entrepreneur.
But I think he's also insecure.
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah.
And the way they communicate or don't communicate.
Right. It's like they're speaking different languages.
It's like they're drifting further and further apart.
Yeah. And neither one of them feels heard.
So we've got complicated friendships, strained family ties, a marriage that's about to explode.
Check.
And just when you think things can't get any more intense,
buckle up.
The author throws in this crazy twist.
What? Tell me more.
I can't say too much.
Okay.
But it involves a secret, a betrayal, and a decision that changes everything.
Oh my gosh. I need to know.
Yeah, it's like one of those moments where you gap and you're like, I got to call my best friend right now.
Totally. And it's not just the plot twists that keep you hooked.
No, it's the author's writing.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's so vivid.
Evocative.
Yeah, you feel like you're right there with the characters.
Like you're living their lives with them.
Yeah, experiencing all the highs and lows.
And she's so good at capturing those little details.
Like the little things, right?
Yeah, like a look or a nervous habit or the way they organize their stuff.
Yes.
And it makes the characters feel so real.
So relatable. Okay, I know we're not supposed to give everything away.
Right.
But I have to share this one detail.
Okay, I'm listening.
There's this scene where Fabiola is organizing a client's closet.
A closet.
And it's not just about folding clothes and putting things in order.
So there's more to it.
It's about, like, Fabiola's state of mind.
Oh, interesting.
You know, her anxieties, her need for control.
Right, like she's trying to create order in her own life.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder if there's a connection between, like, her need to organize physical spaces.
Yeah.
And her attempt to, like, control her emotions.
That's a really good point.
Right.
Like, is she trying to organize her feelings? By organizing a closet.
Yeah, like, is it a metaphor?
It could be.
And I think it speaks to these bigger themes that the book explores.
Yeah, like control.
The illusion of control.
The choices we make.
And how those choices affect the people around us.
The ripple effect.
Yeah. So if you're looking for a light read.
This ain't it.
This is not the book for you.
Yep.
But if you're looking to be challenged, to think about relationships.
Yeah.
To face some hard truths.
The Perfect Plan is the book for you.
Yeah. Add it to your reading list.
For sure.
And even if you think you've got it all figured out.
Oh, trust me.
This book will surprise you.
There are twists and turns.
You won't see coming.
And characters that will stay with you.
Long after you finish the book.
Yeah, it's the kind of story that makes you think.
That sparks conversations.
Makes you question everything.
Okay, we've thrown a lot of information at you.
A lot.
But before you dive into The Perfect Plan.
Yeah.
I want to leave you with one final thought. What would you do if you were Fabiola? Like, imagine having to make this huge decision while your whole world is falling apart.
That's tough.
That's what I love about this book, though.
Yeah.
It doesn't shy away from, like, the messiness of real life.
It's real.
It throws you right into these characters' problems.
Yeah.
And it's like, there are no easy answers.
No easy answers.
And the way the author shows us what's going on inside their heads.
It's like you can feel what they're feeling.
Yeah.
Their doubts, their desires.
You really get it.
You feel Fabiola's guilt.
Liz's desperation.
Yeah, Peter's longing.
It makes you think, like, how would I react?
Yeah, would I make the same choices?
Right. And could I handle the consequences?
And you keep reading because you want to know what happens.
Holy.
But you also want to know why they do what they do.
Yeah. Like, what do their choices say about them?
Exactly. And the author doesn't just give you all the answers.
Right.
You have to figure it out yourself.
I'll put the pieces together.
Yeah, which makes it way more interesting.
Oh, totally. You're always trying to figure out
what's really going on under the surface.
Like, what are they really thinking?
Exactly.
So the ending.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to spoil anything.
Okay.
But it's not what you expect.
Really?
It's not tied up in a neat little bow.
So it leaves you hanging.
It leaves you with questions.
Unanswered questions.
Yeah, like what happens next?
Right.
And you keep thinking about the characters.
Long after you finish the book.
Is it true to life,
Yeah, real life is messy.
There aren't always happy endings.
Sometimes you have to live with the consequences.
Of your choices.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes this book so powerful.
It's real.
Yeah, it doesn't try to make things easy.
It's about relationships.
The choices we make.
And how those choices affect everyone.
Not just ourselves.
Like a ripple effect.
Exactly. So after hearing all about The Perfect Plan.
Yeah.
Are you going to read it?
Oh, I'm hooked.
I need to know what happens.
Me too. I need answers.
And if you do pick it up.
Okay.
Pay attention to the little things.
The details.
Yeah, the little moments.
The unspoken things.
Because that's where the author really shows us.
Who these characters are.
Yeah.
And why they do what they do.
It's like a treasure hunt.
Trying to figure everything out.
And that's what makes this book so good.
It stays with you.
Makes you think.
It's more than just a story.
It's an experience.
It really is.
All right. That's our deep dive into The Perfect Plan by Caitlin Weaver.
Great book.
Be sure to check out our next deep dive where we'll be discussing.
Oh, can't wait.